born, all that stuff.
Do I start?
Go for it.
If it was me, I would start.
All righty. Frank Pollard, Round Pond, Maine, USA, 04564.
Date of birth.
November 18th, 1958. Gonna send me a birthday card.
Who's your mother and father?
Buddy and Gwendolyn Pollard.
Where were they from?
My father grew up here, was born right here in Round Pond. My mother grew up in Timber Point, Friendship, Maine. Just across the bay.
Right over there.
I think that he's right. Frank, you know all those answers. It's pretty amazing.
We're just getting started,
I know.
boys. We're just getting started. I'll probably freeze up here pretty soon once Scott gets on a roll.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
He knows every mistake I made since I was a baby.
I don't know. The only one he did was hanging out with me, probably, I guess. I don't know. But
Is this the Scott Leeman Adventures, or how you want to title this one?
all right. Scott Leeman, born Miles Memorial Hospital, Damariscotta, February 23rd, 1960. Made it back across the town line in a couple days. Round Pond's been my address ever since. My father was Carol Leeman, born here in Round Pond at the old house up there on the hill. My mother, Georgia Bell Prentice. She was born in Bristol.
Jumping out of my crib, ready to take on the world.
All right. All right. Can't beat that one, Scott, can you?
You know, it's you wonder about early memories if they're sort of like something you've heard, but one early one I remember, my father's old Ford Fairlane. I have this memory of, because he had a boat down here at the time, the old trap wharf,
Yeah.
the bait wharf was there. He
Yep.
had traps and had a few traps. He hauled after work. I remember coming from the house, coming down here with him in the car, but the cool thing about it, we didn't have child seats.
Yes.
But clearly we didn't have child seats because I have this image and I believe it probably was real. I remember standing on the
we
seat.
did. We stayed on the
Because
seat.
if you sat down, you couldn't see.
Yeah, they'd be horrified.
So
if
you
did
stood
that
up on the
today.
seat and leaned against the back because you could see better.
I remember coming down there when your dad was working on tracks,
Sure.
when you was a little fella running around
Right,
there in
right.
that old dock there. I remember.
Well, if I was a
coming
little
over there
fella,
hanging out with you.
if I was a little fella, you were a little fella, I guess, weren't you?
Pretty much.
Well, that's right. You're a lot older than me, aren't you?
A year and a half, I guess.
Are you that much? I don't know. Is it? Yeah.
Close.
Yep. But yeah, no. I think where do you think we met? I'm guessing on the bus. I don't really know. I mean, would it have been? Did we meet before
I
school?
remember going to a birthday party of yours where we was
There
playing
is.
pin the tail
There
of the donkey.
is a picture.
What was I about? Was that your 5th birthday?
Yeah,
party?
you're probably right. There is a picture of that, and
And a
I'm
bunch of
guessing
us kids around.
you're right. And that probably would have been before. You're right. So we would have met there, I guess. Right. Yep.
Yep.
That would have been it. Probably around
And,
65.
Was
Yep.
Brian Boynton at that party?
Yep.
Yep,
He
probably
was.
was.
Yep. He was. Yeah. He was a neighbor of yours. Poor old Brian. Yeah.
What a-
Yeah. We did.
Good times.
Yeah, that
Get
was
started.
pretty cool. And then, of course, we met up, school, and we kind of
Little
progressed.
League. We
did.
farm team, Little League.
Played ball together.
Yeah.
And then on to Bristol.
Then I threw, when you
Oh.
remember one time when they threw the ball at me out there in the center field, and I threw the ball back in, and you was walking towards
Back to
base.
first. I was first baseman.
And of all the times that ball went straight up in the air, and he didn't see it.
I'm back
I
too.
didn't try to hit him either, but
Yeah.
Jesus, it landed right on his head, pretty much KO'd you right
First
there,
time,
didn't it?
first time I was ever knocked out. Not the only, but the first. I think my head was on first, as I call when I came to, leveled me from behind. Yeah, I remember that. Rang my bell. That's right, he did. We played ball down
but
there.
that was by accident, though. I just threw the
Well,
ball.
I don't
in.
know. How do I know? It was behind me, but that was.
I remember your father barking at me.
Well,
out
he
that
probably
one
was
time.
kind of startled because I went down, but he could. I remember him like throwing balls from the outfield, maybe behind the fence or something. I mean, it was crazy. He hit the backstop at that ball field down. He could throw like as far as they would go. I mean, like it was crazy. So I took one of those to the head and survived. So think about that. It's pretty
That
good.
was the Lions. We played for the
We
Lions.
were Lions.
And Russ played with the Red
You were Redmen.
Yep.
Yep, we were Lions. Yep, we were. That was a lot of fun. We had uniforms.
Yep.
Played up to
Had the
Damariscotta in
green-
that field.
We had white and green uniforms.
We did.
and
Yep,
had the,
we did.
Had the green hat with the L on it. I
Still-
still got that hat today.
Still
as a
got
matter
some
of fact.
photos. Red Boudelier took a lot of good photos in action and team photos. We had a lot of fun with that. Yep. And then we progressed on to Bristol.
Yep.
And then that was about basketball and baseball. We played.
They were good years for me.
They were real good.
Very good years.
We did. Mr. Gould, think about it, baseball
Yeah.
coach and basketball, 8th grade.
Mr. Gould,
Champions.
it's like I didn't like going to school until we had him, our 7th grade year, and it changed everything. I went from not wanting to go to school to wanting to go to school every day. He was just a gifted guy, a great coach, and a great old school teacher.
He was.
Yep.
Good man. He
Yes,
was.
he was.
He helped a lot of people, and he was a very good man. He was good. And then the sports programs, what he did for us.
Yep.
And as a math teacher, that brought leadership and everything. He was a really good man.
We went from our last place basketball team to just
Basically undefeated, I think,
Yes.
8th grade year.
Yeah.
We dominated everywhere as we went,
Yep.
sure. We had the big man. Remember, we had Russ Lane in the middle. He could box him out. Remember,
and we had Dickie Prentice,
Dick, we did.
Jimmy
Yep.
Brenner.
Yep, you
Adam
were in that.
Russell was really our
Yeah,
star.
he was a leader, right? Yep.
Yep.
You muscled
I
him
mean,
around under there. You could make him happen, sure.
He,
Yep.
he made it happen. And
Yep.
Timmy Felters.
Yep. Do you remember our 8th grade sports banquet?
Yes.
They announced, so at that banquet, remember Dan Bigley announced, well, a local community member he thought it was proper. He wanted to do something for the team, and he had trophies made for all of us, remember?
Yep.
That was Sam Barr, remember that?
Yeah.
And we got
still got that.
those,
today,
that was a
too.
big deal. We all got this
Yeah.
nice, remember? We got these nice trophies. That was through his generosity.
Oh, really?
Right up here, you know, the blue house.
Yeah, he's from New York.
Yeah, he was really that much into the community and us, and
Yeah.
he did a lot with me and Adam here locally.
I remember
It was
him
a lot of fun.
going to, baseball games. and
Absolutely,
stuff.
he would. Yep, yep.
He supported us very well.
He took Adam to that football thing, punt, kick, and pass thing in Rockland, because Adam was a great athlete in football. Because we didn't have football, he still was. I think Adam almost won the thing, and we didn't even have a football team. But Sam took him down to Rockland to do that. It was kind of
Yeah.
cool, you know. So, yep.
Great memories, and when I look back, I mean, we built a great bond. All of us kids.
Yeah.
It's hung on our whole lives. I didn't really realize it till looking back.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it was special.
You're always
a
glad
special
to see
time.
somebody from those years.
Yep. That was a real special time. It was.
You
Yep.
know? Simple times.
It was.
Very simple times.
Nobody had a lot. Everybody had enough.
Yeah.
It seemed pretty easy, didn't it?
No pressure.
No, it wasn't. Right. It was.
Everybody got along
Yep.
really well.
It was. It was simpler and better.
Many generations.
We did.
Start with you, Scotty.
My first thing was I had a little lawn mowing gig going here in the village, and I mowed, from probably that way from McMaster's up through the village and all the way over to the northern point, maybe Matty Farmers, and the Neal Cottage. I mowed Chester
Yep.
Neal's
Yep.
on that Neal Cottage on the end of Quarry Hill Road, and I was real glad to get a self-propelled mower because I was on foot, so I didn't have to push it up those hills. I could start it and run it up like Brown Church Hill or Quarry Hill because you could. It's just a hump to push it around. But I did that and then progressed later on into with my father's paint business. I would paint summers with him, as I got probably around 12 or 13. I started doing that.
54 Chevrolet pickup.
He
truck.
did, the old buff colored 54, and I would paint with him summers. And yeah, that was it. And then graduated and worked with him the summer, and because it was seasonal, and that's when I got a job that first winter out of Lincoln with North Country Wood Products.
My mother was working down there, wasn't she?
She wasn't I don't know if she was when I was or not. I was 78, 79. I was upstairs in assembly. Me and, Brian Gettner was there, and a handful of us. Adam Weideman was there. And I was up top. I framed out traps, put them in a jig and did the bottoms, the rails and everything, the runners, and put the ends on them. Framed them up basically and put some laths on, and then moved it on to the next thing. So I did that for 6 months. So, yeah. And what were you doing?
Trying to stay out of trouble. Well, basically, I started off, going out with my father when I was really small, putting the stringing the redfish on the iron and putting the wooden pegs in the lobsters, and then get my own skiff, an outboard, and that was back in the 60s, and I bought that skiff for $65. It was a Sykes built skiff. It was kind of similar to a Rupert Riley, and went up Stetson and Pinkenham in Waldoboro and bought a 1953 5.5 Johnson for $65. For $125, I was ready to go. And the lobster traps got about 30 wooden traps from my father, and and pretty much been my whole life as far as work goes is the fishing business, and dug clams and sold them to the Bremen Clam Factory.
Was that around 32 on that,
Yes,
right by the road,
yes.
that cape there? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
back-
Remember the sign, yeah.
Yeah, back when I was, I think, 11 years old,
Yeah.
lobstering and digging clams. Most of the clams I got at that time was right across to Louds Island. And they were good years, and just stayed with it. And
Now, when did you make the cabin anyway?
well, I bought the Mayflower first.
Yeah,
Off of
that was
Albert
something.
Fawcett.
Wow. What year was that?
I'm going to say 1972, somewhere around in there.
So he was 12 and he had a full out
No,
lobster
I
boat.
was
Oh, 14, okay. Yeah, I was 12,
14
right.
when I got that boat.
Full out boat with, a real lobster boat with a house and 6-cylinder?
Yeah, it had a
6-cylinder Chevy?
brand new motor in that boat.
Wow.
And
Nice. Huge beauty boat. Nice.
yeah,
Sweet.
and geez, I was very proud.
You were big time. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was,
well,
that was a
yeah,
cool
I
thing.
thought. And
Rare.
He was.
and let's see, I got the mooring, the boat, the cradle, the tools, and for $1,000.
Not bad.
So,
You were in business.
a lot of things in life is being at the right place at the right time. I
Must have
guess.
been cool the first morning you took that to haul. I bet that was
Yeah,
pretty neat, huh?
yeah.
Going from a skiff to that. She
And I
was a
had
sweet
that
little
boat for 6 years, and then my dad built the Tappan. He built the Amity year before that, and one in the early 60s, but him and Carol Hanner had built, and so had a brand new boat, and put my heart and soul in the business.
So what year was Tappan? That was 78?
79. Launched that in 79.
79.
Yep.
That was quite a party. I remember that.
Yes.
The launch right there. That was pretty good. We had a
Yeah.
good. That was. Well, we tried to get her down here one day, and we couldn't get her out in time to make the tide. It was raining. Trying to get her out around the corner. We had Bob Hanley's bulldozer there and everything,
Yeah.
and got it out around the corner. Then it's too late, and then we partied on a while, and then the next day she came to water. Correct, as I recall.
Yeah, I think it did, from
Yep.
my memory.
All right, and there was a big old red 3/4 ton or 1 ton Ford pickup that brought that to water. Do you know the one I mean? Who?
Yes, that was Eddie Bill Vino from Cushion. He had the homemade trailer there,
Holy Christ,
rugged built trailer.
What about that truck that towed that boat? Was it a 3/4 ton?
Yeah.
It was a 3/4 ton Ford pickup that
About
brought that
s-
35-foot
67 Ford.
heavy
pickup.
built boat with a 471, brought that down here and backed it into the water. So, I rode in that truck years later. You know where that ended up?
No, I don't.
I do. I was in that truck.
Oh yeah, that's right too. That it got shipped out there. I forgot all about.
I was
that.
out there coon hunting with Mike Pryor and Nibo one night. We'd landed and we'd hunted up to the north and dropped a few, and we got back to the barn at Cecil's,
Did Cecil buy that truck?
and so we had dead raccoons scattered up through the island there. So Mike says, well, let's see if we can get this thing going. So he got the lock of the barn open, went through a bunch of batteries, threw a battery in it, couldn't find the key to the truck. He hunted around, found that. It's like everything is like, is it going to work? Fired that thing up. Next thing I knew, we're chugging up through the island in low gear with no brakes. idling along, listening to an AM radio up through to pick up all those coon, and I said, this is that truck. It had that big, huge hitch on the back.
Yep.
I mean, had this unbelievable hitch that would tow that boat. I mean, my God, I don't know what the tongue weight would have been on that thing. But yeah, that was where she ended up, was out there.
Now I remember now. Sort of forgot about that.
Yep. He was from Cushion, that guy, yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep,
Wow,
nice
that was
guy.
quite a thing. Yep. That was quite a day. When that launched, that was fun. I mean, that was a big deal. We had a lot of fun. Yep. She did you good. I mean, you did lobstering, fish dragging, shrimping,
Yep.
everything out of it, right?
Let's see, I had that
Tuna
boat for
fishing.
About 23 years I had that boat.
Yep. Yep.
And, so, yeah.
But then you went on to,
The one I got now, the Clara.
and she's a 40-foot H&H?
Yep. Launched that in May of 2001.
So you bought the hull and top, brought her home, and finished her, correct?
Yeah, my father, Ronnie Poland, they did the work on the boat. And I still have that boat today. It's been a great boat.
And that was a good launching. I was here for that one too.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep. She's a beauty. Yep. How many traps you supposed to come over the rail of that boat since you got her?
Wow.
Ever wonder what that number would be? There's no way to calculate. It'd be
Yeah.
something, wouldn't it? Think about it. Yeah. A lot. Yep. It's really something. She puts in a good season for you. Yep. How many engines you had in her?
Oh, this one I got now, Troy Benner rebuilt that one. I run that for 15 years, and I had to put a new deck in the boat. The motor was still running, but where I had everything all ripped apart in the boat, I figured I better freshen up the motor, reverse gear, and
Sure.
hydraulics, put a new stainless steel rudder on it. And
Yep.
I had almost as much money in doing that boat over than I did
When you bought it, right? That's how that works, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Things
Right.
have gone up that much.
So the Mayflower, you sold the Mayflower to Frank Bedell, didn't you?
Yes, and they went crabbing out of the Damascotta River in that.
So did
boat.
you go around the point with him and take it into the river?
I did.
Am I right?
I did. We left Round Pond Harbor in April, and went around Pemaquid Point up into South Bristol. We went through the bridge, went up the Damascotta River, and went right up to the town landing, and then we went right up to Norway Square and had our lunch.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. And that ended up in the field right out by Belvedere.
That's the last memories I have of that boat.
I remember that. Yep, right. Yep. And Tappan ended up down at Troy's, right?
Yep.
I remember seeing her there. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It all comes to an end. For the wooden boats, anyways, I guess. Huh?
Yes.
They don't last long enough.
Kind of waiting for Russ to throw another one at us. Another pitch.
So yeah, L.A. I got out of L.A. You know that we were all there that day. Boy, you remember driving to oh my God, we're driving to graduation.
Here we go.
I'm leaving my house. You go by going like mad in the old Deathmobile, the Chevy 2, right? I think you had still.
Yep.
Literally, he goes right by, and I pull in behind him. We race. It was awful. We raced 13 miles to L.A. We get there. He's driving he's passing cars where I won't touch it. It's like, wow. I finally said, I'm not going to do this. He's gone. I finally get up there and catch up with him. You appeared to have been celebrating quite a bit before you even left the house. Would that be right?
Seems to me.
Because I remember you going up to one classmate of ours and gave him a big old kiss. Remember who that was?
Yeah, I do. I'm well looking at him
It
right
was
there.
Russ Lane.
Yeah.
It was Russ. Oh my God! I remember that comes back. I was like, wow.
Thanks. I'm not on that side either, Ross, but
It was a pretty big day for all of us. I remember that.
Pretty exciting.
It was. We got out of there, went to the big party down in South
South
Bristol. Oh my God,
yeah.
that was
They
awful.
threw a number of graduation
They did. They
parties
weren't
there,
always a good
and
thing,
it
but
was great. And
yeah. Well, the next day wasn't.
we had a bluegrass band playing, starting off the party, and they took a bunch of breaks, and I don't know. At that time, people wasn't into bluegrass.
No.
Then we hired
Cruising, no doubt. That was
I
what
was
you
thinking
wanted.
we paid that bluegrass band, I don't know, $300-400, and then we I think we paid
Get them out
Cruiser
of there.
like $100.
We got a money's worth.
And, well, Jesus, I'm telling you right now, at 6 o'clock in the morning, they were
Still going.
playing,
Still-
but people were passed out all over the
I
field.
mean, the sun come up and they were still
Yeah.
going. I remember waking up to it. It was like, my God.
One of the things I remember the most about that party is George Sawyer coming up to me and doubling up his fist and just hauling off and giving me a shot right in the chest.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then he fell back into a crowd of people, and I didn't see him again for
10
quite
years?
quite a spell
For
afterwards.
years?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, I kind of chuckle about that today.
I don't remember that, no. So anyway, so we got through graduation, and then I was painting with my father. And then I went to North Country, and it was in April of the year. My parents had left. They were gone to Florida. I was home alone. But I was leaving in the morning in the dark, getting home in the dark, working at the mill, working overtime, coming home. I remember reeking of green oak, boy, around all that oak. You know, you just smell like all that. You know, it was pretty cool, really. But I was grinding it out. I was making $99 a week, and that seemed like big money for a while. But then I was going to say, I don't know if this is going to do it. So I'm at a party, actually, over Great Gamages with a bunch of local fellas, and one of the fellas here from the village said, hey, me and a couple of the guys are going to see if we can get into Bridgeton Academy and go on to Maine Maritime. You ought to go along with us. They were younger than me. They were just getting out of school. So I'd been out a year. So my parents got back, and I mentioned about this going to Bridgeton. Boy, they got pretty excited because it didn't look like I was going to go to school. So we go up there. Bridgeton was a one-year preparatory school, the oldest one-year preparatory school in the nation. The idea was to really get SAT scores. I had never taken SATs, and you needed them to get into Maine Maritime. So we go up there, and it worked for me. I got the SATs and got in, and yeah, so it was the summer of August, late August of 79, 81, yeah, 80. I left here and started the academy, a 4-year program, and I made it, got through, and so yeah, I graduated in April 14th of 84.
I was there.
Frank was there, and I flew to Tampa, Florida, and caught the old Dina, my first tanker. And
Scott, did we have
17th.
a party at your folks' place that same night?
We did. We
And,
came back.
While we was at that party, you got a call for a job, right?
I did.
Right then and there.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
The job market then was literally rock bottom. It was terrible. Basically, you didn't think going to get jobs. I considered the option to go in the Navy as an ensign, but I decided to wait it out. Well, anyways, got a job, but it wasn't as third mate. It was as AB. But I was so excited because I was going to go to sea, and I actually got half time on my license for upgrade and all that, which is not much. But anyways, I was going to go to sea. I had a job, and this would be a job that made a lot more than $99 a week and came with some benefits, and I was going to be doing what I was trained to do. So yeah, 3 days later, I was off to Tampa and been chasing it ever since. So yeah, I went through Crest Tankers, third mate, Trinidad Corporation, as second mate, on to Sabine Transportation as chief mate, and then ended up with Seabulk Tankers as master. 23 years, and the end of 06, I pitched that in and gave it up, and so for the last 18 years, I've been a pilot at the Louisiana offshore oil port off of Grand Isle, Louisiana. So down there. Yeah, originally it was 2 on, 2 off. It's changed as things have slowed down. Presently I'm on a 2 on, 3 off schedule. I really like the 2 on, 4 off better as I get older, but it's 2-3 right now. I hope to get back to the 2-4. Just work 9 trips a year was good versus 10 or 12 or 13. Have to fly down and come back. But yeah, you travel offshore. We had helicopter for years, but they've lost the helicopter service due to a hard landing situation. So now we take a boat 20 miles out and stay out there. And so ships arrive, generally foreign flag ships from all over the world. These ships it's in 110 feet of water, built for ships that are too big to come into port. So opened in 1981. And these are ships that you know, they typically it was built to import crude oil, but now that we've become the largest producer, we both import and now we export as well. So we ship American oil out as well. A typical job, we'll meet a ship, bring it in, hook it up to our equipment, take a couple days, load 2 million barrels of export crude, and it'll take off, and it might go to Canada, might go to India, China, Korea. We have them go to Italy, France. They go all different places now. You never really know. Rotterdam. So big business, you know, exporting oil as well as importing oil. So that's where I'm at now. But one day I'm hoping to come back home and stay in Maine for a full calendar year. I haven't done it since 1978, really. So I was thinking of, so one thing, I've got a few photos here, talking about the academy. So this one, remember that one?
Yep.
So that was the night before I left the academy.
It was.
We were over at my parents' cottage here on the bay, and Frank stopped over with the old Ford to say goodbye, and yep. And then he came to graduation, so we stayed in touch through the whole thing. It was kind of cool. Yep. And that was a picture. That's, you say that's this building right here, huh?
Yep, that's the one.
We were rigging up some, I think we were fooling around with trying that early tuna thing or something before anybody really did it.
We was rigging up for that.
We were going out for a little tuna trip that we didn't have a lot of luck with. And this was over at Belknap's Wharf, I think, there. And it was, well, that's those trays, those Melpack trays. I guess that was the tuna gear too, wasn't it? Jenny took that picture.
Young whippersnappers.
We don't really look all that different. I think we look pretty much, I think I'm the same body weight. How about
I think I've gained a few since then, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know if those jeans would fit anymore. So anyways, yeah, that was kind of cool. One other category I've got here is, we'll call this things that ended up in the town square. So one time years ago, this would have been, what year do you think that was? Probably 77?
That sounds about right.
So yeah, a bunch of us youngsters, we
Kicking around the shore here one night.
we were, and we had Junior's truck was here. We went over in the colony here. That was at Zandy Wilson's, and we picked up an outhouse and managed to wrestle it onto the back of the truck, and we dropped it in the middle of town square down here. We thought that was kind of funny. But at that time, that morning, my dad and I, with the crew, we were painting the Brown Church, which is right up the hill, looking down there. My father would go to work, and there it is. So he has a piece of plywood, and he paints up this sign and has me get down and nail it on there. It says Selectmen's Office. And that was quite a thing. The town was pretty tickled with that. That was there for quite a while.
Yeah.
That really kind of brought it to the front. That was kind of clever of him.
One of the funniest things about that story is we was working on my cousin Junior because he had a pickup truck.
A rack body on it.
Load that outhouse on, and well, he didn't want to do it. We worked on him for, geez, what, about a half an hour, 40 minutes?
He had a big old wooden rack body we could slide it onto.
Ross, the deal was when we got by come up to his house, we had to be really
His parents'
quiet.
house.
Well, yes, because he didn't want his folks looking out the window with that outhouse going by in his truck. So he wanted us to be real quiet, and we agreed to that. But somehow, when we got to his house, we started yahooing.
And then hollering as we go by the house.
He was not happy with us, I can tell you
My
that.
parents would have been looking out. They're right across the street, everybody.
Yeah.
So we dropped her in the square, and there she sat for, I don't know, a couple of days. Who else was on the truck with us? I don't know who would have.
No, there was
Stevenson would have been there, I guess.
I'm pretty sure he had a hand in that.
I
He
don't
seemed
know.
to be around anytime.
He was always when that stuff was going on.
Yep.
So let's get back to another story about him. So this would have been, I think, in the summer of '78. I had the Nova, maybe '78 or '9. Anyways, I'd been to town, the usual Friday night rounds. Come down by the house, my parents are over on the bay, and I look, and blocking the driveway is this big old lapstrake heavy skiff that had been sitting with a pile of boats here. Heavy thing, glassed over, weighed a ton. Let here for a long time. Well, it's dragged across the driveway, blocking the driveway. So I come down to the shore. He's sitting here with my neighbor, Scott Stevenson, and he's kind of tee-heeing and chuckling and all this, and he says, so, oh, did you come by the house? I says, no, I came the Bremen way. I just came the Biskie Road, Bremen way. I haven't been by the house. So I didn't tip my hand. So we talked. Well, he's got to go to Hall. He's heading for the house. So Scott jumps in with me to go home because I'm going to live right next door. We ride up the hill. He takes off, heads north. I take Scott. I say, hey, you got to give me a hand. We pull up to the house. There's this skiff blocking the driveway, right across the driveway. I said, you got to give me a hand. We're going to put this in the square. But I said, the only thing we're going to do about it, so I went out and I got a red spray can. So on the port side of the boat, I sprayed on it, boat moving. And on the starboard side, I painted Call Frank Poland in nice, probably 18-inch letters. What do you think?
I guess he got the last word in, didn't they?
So we tow it down to the square and we cut it loose and go home. Of course, you put for haul, what, about 4:35 in the morning, come down through, and there she be. I guess you had to move it that morning. Did you hook onto it then?
I did, but I don't know what. It was so long ago.
Grab some pot warp.
I took that.
Well, no, it was
somewhere around here.
Well, this is taken right. It ended up back down here. See, that's back down here.
Yep.
It ended up back down where it came from.
So you took the picture down here. Then.
So yeah, Jenny took that actually. But the best part was Scott Stevenson had helped him move it to my house, and then Scott Stevenson helped me move it back.
He was on both sides of the fence with that cape.
But neither of us knew the other. He was doing it with the other one. It was pretty clever on his behalf. So we had a lot of that kind of fun, I think, back then. And remember tying lobster traps on the back of people's cars that didn't know about it?
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Dean Knott and his Ranchero pulled out of here one time. We're telling him to burn it. We had, I don't know, probably 15, 20 fathoms of line coiled out there in an old wooden trap. Right to the shop. Wasn't much left of her, yeah, kind of stuff. So I remember going up around the corner, you're following him, there was some people walking that were pretty surprised. That thing was taking a pretty wide sweep there on that corner, just about took them out. So, yeah.
Had a lot of fun back in those days.
We did. It was all pretty good.
Kind of worked back and forth.
We did.
It was good. A lot of the old school Mainers, I look back and I think of those people quite often, the older I get, and we were very lucky because Round Pond is really the best place in the world to live. And we lived in a great era. We're like the last generation to see the old school Maine. And we had a lot of great old school Mainers here. From Phil Nichols to Orrin Loud to Millard Robinson to Penny Carter. I mean, I could go on.
You had Amos Loud.
Yep.
You had Elmer.
Yes, Elmer.
You had them both brothers over here. They never had a car, right? All they do is row across or walk around the woods.
And,
never drove.
You know, Phil Nichols is another one. Is kind of
boat builder,
icon of Round Pond.
Yep.
Built his Friendship sloops with all hand tools.
Oh, yeah.
And drove a Model A Ford right up until the time I was 12 or 13 years old.
The 70s.
Daily.
Yep.
You know, he was a guy that always stayed busy, that kind of went unnoticed. I mean, I could go by his place where he was sawing firewood and doing different projects around. He was a very smart, very quiet old man. But all the kids that I grew up with, we were so blessed to grow up here in such great, simple times where everybody got along and, you know, had a good life here.
Yeah, the memories were really good. You know, we were lucky with this harbor, this waterfront, everything we had here, a couple little stores, all the stuff we needed. You could play ball anywhere, you could find a little open space, right?
We pretty much grew up right in this harbor.
Horsing around.
You know, it was like my favorite place to go was come down here and hang out or go to work.
Everybody talked about go to the shore. It meant just driving right here, the shore. It was all right here.
Right here in this harbor.
Yep.
In our lifetime.
Yep. It was. You're right. It was a good time to do it.
Yep.
The memories, you're right, I look back at were really, really good. You know, we knew it was special times, and it's definitely changed. But you know, we were lucky to be where we were when we were.
I guess, you know, if I could go back into a time machine of that era, of the people we had here, I probably wouldn't come back to this era because it was just so great here.
Yep.
There's so many great Mainers, and a very simple, kept it simple.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't, like I say, you got by, nobody had a lot, everybody had enough, everybody seemed pretty happy, you know, it was really kind of idyllic, really. We knew we were in a good thing, we just didn't know how good, I guess, until we look back.
Yep. You first.
Wow, I don't know, I guess just that I was an all right guy and I was pretty attached to where I live. Part of my problem, you know, leaving for so long, you get separated from the community, and it does make it harder with friendships and everything. And you know, I do feel a sort of a detachment sometimes for leaving as long as I have. You know, the time. I mean, I had over 4,000 days at sea before I gave up going to sea, and then, you know, and I've been basically almost half the time gone since then with this job for 18 years, and yeah, I find it's a Maine thing. I notice when I'm flying away sometimes, I can tell when I've crossed the Maine border. I miss Maine, but I certainly miss Round Pond. But I want to be remembered for that as somebody that values, you know, what we had here, still have here, and hopefully always, you know, other people will have here. It's a pretty special place, you know.
Sure is. Well, remembered. I guess I put my heart and soul in everything I ever did in my life. From sounds like I'm patting myself on the back here now, I guess, but not really. But I'm just a proud, very proud person. I'm very proud of my folks. Most proudest in my life, my father and my mother were the best people I ever known in my lifetime. They looked out. They grew up poor. They worked hard. It was a team sport with them all through the time they were married. And they had fun. And I put my heart and soul in my work when I was playing sports. Just about everything that I ever did in my life. Proud. And I'm going to hold my head up and not hold it down to anybody, because I'm comfortable in my own skin. And yes, I go along with that. To be remembered as a good, respectable, honest person. I'm a pretty straight shooter. I get to the point. Plus or minus. Nothing fake.
Well put. Your mom, she's stern for your father for a long. She had some sea time. I remember seeing her.
Very, very hardworking people.
I always remember seeing her stern in a long time with him, right?
You know, I
She'd
think
be out there.
so many things.
It was pretty hard work.
So many things that my father and mother said to me, you know. It was kind of comical. I'll use one for example. You know, if I was mad at somebody and they was mad at me, my father would say to me, well, it might be their fault, Frank, but if you got more than one person mad at you, you might want to take a look at yourself, you know?
Well put, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yep. Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you would join us a little bit, you know, get back to some of our, you know, sporting. You know, we were teammates on baseball teams to basketball teams, and it was a great era with a lot of great memories. And you was a big part of that, Ross.
Definitely, you were.
We both came off of very good baseball years for Bristol Junior High, and he was reading in the paper there one day at school. He says, you know, Frank, he says, they got Babe Ruth tryouts up there in Damascotta, because we didn't have a Babe Ruth team for 1 or 2 years there, kind of in that same time. And he said, we ought to go up there and check this out. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So him and me went up there, and these boys were like a couple years ahead of us in school. They had a great team. And we kind of looked at each other and said, we're wonderful to make this team. And we both did, and we both made the starting lineup.
Wow.
You know,
So who was on that? Who had been playing Any other little?
Barry Knott
Oh,
was
wow.
on that team.
Brian.
Billy Clifford.
Brian's name up at Scott. Yeah.
Oh, Brian Huntley.
Ah,
Huntley was on that team.
yeah.
He was he was just a great ball player. And David Archer, he was
Wow.
our ace pitcher.
Yeah.
And he was just a good person. And
You guys made the team.
I'm thinking Doug Simons. He was first base.
Cool.
And Chucky Plummer. This is how I got to know Chucky Plummer. And he's outfield.
I never seen a curveball till he leveled me with one
Yeah.
down behind Bristol School one time. I didn't know a ball could do that.
Wasn't Eric
I'm laying
Wood
in the
our
dirt. I'm like,
catcher?
what happened?
Eric
Yeah.
Wood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eric Wood.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how far would you guys play? Where did the other teams you play?
Did a little traveling.
Yeah, where'd they go? I didn't do Babe Ruth. How far did you guys go?
Warren.
Yeah.
Did
No
you?
Warren High School.
Yeah.
Booth Bay. They heckled us down there in Booth Bay. It was kind of comical.
Did
you
they?
know?
They really?
Our first game was up to Waldoboro, old Waldoboro High School. Well, A.D. Gray they call
Sure.
now, and we beat those guys up there, and that started the ball rolling for that year.
Wow.
And,
What position did you play?
Well, I was outfield.
Makes sense with that arm.
Most of the time. And I remember we went to West Castle. There was a couple of the McLeod boys. They kind of chased us all. Both of those brothers were great ball players, and
Twins.
right on from
Really?
school right to Babe Ruth in the high school later on. Those guys just kind of went right up through it, just like me and Russ did. And yeah, they were good ball players.
Huh? I never heard.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
And I remember going back to Lincoln Academy, I'm trying to think of that. Randy James, he was pitching for West Casset, and he was pitching a dandy of a ball game. We ended up beating him 4-3, but he pitched a very good game against us. I was kind of impressed with him.
His brother was a classmate of mine at the academy, Grady.
He was?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them James boys. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know
That was
he
a big
played.
family over there.
Yeah,
Daltons
yeah.
and Jameses.
They were all tied in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the mother was a Dalton. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And what, Grovers,
Yeah. Sure.
Seegers.
Yeah.
That was a
Oh yeah.
bunch of those boys up that way.
Sure.
It's a good one. Yeah.
I want to know something about him we don't know.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Surprised he's not drinking the fifth on that one, but
Yeah. There might have been a time in my life I'd done that.
You don't have any rights here, Frank. There's no Fifth Amendment.
Oh, really? I'm on the.
This is our own country here.
You know,
right. Well, I'll go first. You want to do that?
Yeah,
So, one thing, I think that people may not, probably wouldn't know, but from my mother-in-law, actually, Jenny's mother, I developed an interest in the history of polar exploration. And, I got 80 to 100 books on it now, and but I'm most intrigued with Roald Amundsen, the discoverer of the South Pole and the Northwest Passage. He was also Norway's licensed aviator #1. He had the first aviation license in Norway, and so he saw a progression. Those guys were all mariners, sailors, merchant seamen, and whalers and sealers, and worked in the ice a lot. So he progressed from sail to aviation, and of course he actually died through an aviation incident trying to rescue a competitor. But I'm really interested in that, and I've been to his house, and I've been on his ship, the Fram, the furthest ship south, and I haven't been on the Yoa yet, which he discovered the Northwest Passage with, but it's now at the museum in Oslo. It was in San Francisco for years, and I got to go on that. But I'm really interested in that. I've studied a lot, and I get a lot of leadership skills from those guys. When they left home, they typically sign a contract, and these guys had families, and you'd tell your family, well, okay, I'm going to be gone for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. You're not going to hear anything from me. The money will come to you, what I make. Hopefully we'll see you then. And that was kind of how they did that, because they didn't have any communications at the time. And but the leadership that these guys, particularly a man like Amundsen, who basically never lost a man in the ice, no, I try to pattern myself after a man like that. You learn a lot from these guys. And this is all the key thing. The books that cover this at that time, this is all very well documented through photographs, very, very accurate journals, and also they also had started moving photography then. They had some film cameras, but they didn't carry wireless. They didn't have communications. But I have a real high interest in that, and traveling to Norway kind of keeps that going, because I can always enhance it more. It's a fun place to go for that. So.
Very good. Very good.
Europe. What do we got for you?
I think everybody knows about every move I have.
Oh, come on.
No real big secrets from me.
I can tell you something about him I remember that was really very impressive.
Oh,
I wish I could
here
see.
We go. Another
He was a I mean, I think a remarkably good artist, and I don't know if that would carry over today, but you do some really neat cartoons. I remember the stuff you draw, like wow, and then you did the portrait of Mr. Gould.
Oh, wow.
I wish we had that.
That's a nice story there. I don't know if you got time for that one or not, but the first year we played for him, we didn't have a very good basketball team. We turned it completely around the following year.
We played for Morton one year, and then he came in our 7th grade
Caught
year.
the tail end of
Right.
Morton, the tail end of the season with him. But going back to Gould, we were losing a few ball games right back to back. So that morning when we came to school, on his blackboard, he took a big sheet of paper. He drew a basketball court, and he drew the numbers of these chickens. He drew these chickens on the basketball court, and he put the starting five's number, which was my number, he put on one of them chickens. So somehow we got a call in the office after about 15, 20 minutes of the math class. So when he did, I ran right up to that picture, and I do a great big fat chicken. I put Coach Gould on that thing. So, you remember this, Ross? And so when he comes in the room, everybody starts laughing. And he's trying to figure out what everybody's laughing.
He doesn't know why.
He turns around and he saw that great big fat chicken there with Coach Gould on it. His face turned just as red as can be. And he says, I don't know why he just came up with my name. But
Yeah,
he
why?
just said, Frank, did you draw that on there? And my desk was right alongside of his. I don't know why, because I was such a good kid. And
That's like Paul Cunningham riding the front step of the bus. He was such a good kid.
So he says, Frank, did you draw that chicken on there? And I said, yes. He says, you stand up. Well, when I stood up, he was like a bolt of lightning coming at me. He grabbed me right by the shoulder and slammed me right in that seat. And then he started laughing like hell.
Perfect.
Which really threw me off. 'Cause
Right.
I thought I was into it pretty deep there.
Right. He could take a joke, couldn't he?
He did.
All right.
He did.
That's how you knew he was a good man.
Yes.
Yep. That probably was the turning point. We probably started winning after that.
Yeah. A lot of good stories about him. I mean, very, very good.
But he had this, one day he just took a scrap of paper and he drew a profile of him, and it was like, he had the sideburns. I remember it was like,
Oh, it was perfect.
It was,
wasn't
why,
Perfect.
if we had that now, it's nothing.
He knew I was doing that.
You
'cause
just couldn't do that.
He kept grinning at me.
But I mean, he has the skills. He could do that. He could draw really well.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I remember him with these
You out
army
there,
guys
You hear these guys bragging me up, boy.
with
this
barbed
is big
wire,
from these two.
barbed wire fences and stuff. He could, amazing. Remember that? Right. Right. The cartoons of battles. I remember that.
That was tanks and everything.
Yes. Right. Why don't we have any of those? Where are they? You got them at home in a book? All gone. Vanished.
Oh my God.
Have you ever tried it again?
No, because I've been so busy doing other things.
Right.
Yeah.
So busy. Tonight when you sit down on the counter there, just go.
I took time out from my busy schedule to spend quality time
What
with
would you be
two.
doing today?
Huh?
Traps are all rigged out. The wood's all cut. What do you got to do?
Oh, I got a mountain of stuff.
Get
to do.
mowing.
We all have a.
Yeah.
You always tell me that you got a mountain. Try leaving for half the time and coming home and catching up, and tell me you got a mountain of stuff to do. I hear that. I got a mountain of stuff. What do you
No more
think?
get one
I go home. I
project
got
done
Mount
and-
Everest to do when I get home every time. It never ends. So don't tell me that. I know, but he's got. It was interesting. It was fascinating. You remember that's on the cartoons, the war, the battles and stuff.
Battles, yeah.
I remember that, Army guys, and I remember barbed wire fences. Like, what is this? It was very, very cool.
Wow.